Good morning. It is Technique Tuesday, And today we're going to be using a fun designer series paper technique using paper from our scrapbooking workshop Meant to Be. So this is what I featured on Monday's Made Easy Monday. And we're probably going to be using these bee papers all week long for our different videos. So today is Technique Tuesday, and today we're going to be using the herringbone technique. So I really want to show you all week how this fun scrapbooking workshop, yes, it can be for scrapbooking, yes, it can be for fun memory photo frames, you know, if you want to do a 12 by 12 photo frame of one of these, but it can be used for so much paper crafting, making cards and all kinds of things, and that's what we're going to do today. So today's technique is a herringbone technique, and so we are going to be using our designer series paper to create a herringbone look. So first thing I'm going to bring in is some strips that I have already cut. So this is from the paper in the scrapbooking workshop. Now this is different from the Cute as Can Be designer series paper. That's why I love the scrapbooking workshops, because they really kind of stretch our designer series paper, because they give us different patterns that aren't, you know, some of them are in both, but a lot of them are single designs that aren't in all of them. I'm going to use my silicone mat today, and then I have just a piece of basic white that we're going to use to layer and some liquid adhesive. So how I like to do this, I love to use my silicone mat for this technique especially, because if it oozes out or whatever, it doesn't get all over my table. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to put a good amount kind of halfway on my paper there. And we're going to start with any one of our strips, and we're going to start in the middle. So with this herringbone technique, all we're going to be doing is laying strips one by one. And liquid adhesive is important for this technique because it allows us to push those papers close together. If you use, you know, seal or anything like that, it doesn't always give us that wiggle room, right? Like the liquid adhesive does. So that's important for this technique. So you want to just keep pushing them so that they all are close together, and then we're just going to keep repeating our pattern here. This is a great way to use up scraps. For this one I just cut strips, so these are just 1/2 inch strips, and then we're just going to keep going on our pattern here. So we'll bring in some of our hive there. Love that print. And remember, just keep pushing them together, and then again. And then you want to save your scraps, because for these little extra areas, right, you can use little pieces if need be. So like I did a card earlier and I have these leftover scraps, and so when you have, you know, little bitty pieces like this, you can stick them on those corners as well. So we're just going to make sure before we go on, we're going to make sure all those are pushed together. And also this is great to use a silicone mat, because if it oozes out, it's not going to stick to your grid paper or your desk or anything, right? So we're just going to leave that on just like so. And now we're going to take our liquid adhesive and we're going to do this bottom part. Yes, you could glue each individual strip, but I just found this was faster and a little bit easier. So for this part of the technique, what we're going to do is we are going to start in the middle again, and we're going to go the opposite way. So this is what's going to create that herringbone look for us, right? And let's get some, let's see, what's next is our bees. And so if we need to snip some, we can. So if you need a straight edge, you know, you can just use your snips. If your glue gets dried, just add a little bit more. Now let's do some of our purple flowers here. Then we'll go back to our hive. And let's see, back to our bees. So we'll just snip a little bit of that. And remember, just pushing them close to this edge and then close together so that they're all lined up. Then we'll go on this other side and let's see, we'll go back to our bees. I'm just making sure that I have those straight edges. Line that up. Now our purple. And so you can see it's already making that herringbone look, right? Then we'll go back to our cute bees. And I'm just giving that a straight edge so that it lines right up. Oh, that was supposed to be our, just kidding. Because I want my pattern to be the same, right? That would be our hive, and then it would be our bees. And then you'll see we have this little corner here, right? So I'm just gonna add a little bit more adhesive just to make sure it gets all the way in that corner. And then we're gonna take our purple piece here, make sure that's lined up close together and stuck down on that little bitty edge. All right, so now you can see I'm just letting this kind of dry for a second, but we want to save all of our pieces because you can make, once you cut some of these strips or use your scraps, you have a lot left over and you'll be able to make bunches of cards with those. Okay, so we'll make sure that is all dried. I like to let it sit a second. And we're gonna flip it over. So now you see our piece that we glued to, and you can see all these little strips hanging off, right? And so we're just gonna cut from the back, and we're gonna cut all of these extra pieces off. You wanna cut from the back so that it's easier, right? You can see where to cut, and just follow right along. So you can see I'm just following the edge of my base layer there, right? And we're just gonna trim all the way around. I love how this uses scraps, right? It's a fun design, and you know, using the pattern paper, you could use cardstock for this technique, but that herringbone, it's the look of that herringbone design, which is so fun. Okay, now all these pieces I cut off, we can use for another card. So it's not trash, it's not waste, right? We can just use those, especially in those little areas, right? Like we did before. All right, and then you can see, now we've got this pattern of herringbone that we can use on one of our cards. So it's almost like creating our own, you know, design of paper. So you could use these with 3 different colors. You could use them with different designer series paper. You could use them with different embossing edges. I mean, there is so much you can do with this. And then what we could do is I already have a piece of basic white and some petunia pop on there, and we could layer this on, and what a beautiful card, right? In fact, I finished one card for us, so you could see what this would look like, what these pieces would look like finished. And so this is from our new meant to be stamp set that goes with that scrapbooking workshop as well. It's got some dies too, so we will be doing lots with that. But here is that finished card with that herringbone technique. So I just popped that layer up on dimensionals, this one here, And then this is that petunia pop layer back here. I just stamped a sentiment, added a little bit of those celebration purple sequins, and you have an easy card that used a bunch of scraps, showcases lots of our designer series paper, and is just easy and beautiful. So the herringbone technique is our fun technique for Technique Tuesday with Tracy. I hope you are enjoying these. I love showing you different ways to create cards and different paper crafting techniques for you to master and practice and use. So if you missed any of our previous Technique Tuesdays, you can find them all on my blog at stampinqueenbee.com or on my YouTube at Stampin' Queen Bee. There's a playlist for Technique Tuesday. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.